What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back with another episode of the Wright Quality Podcast. Whoever you want to introduce yourself as today, I will let you go ahead and do it. I won't even steal your thunder, bro. Go ahead, let the people know, remind them who you are once again.
I'm feeling like Emilio today.
Feel like Emilio today? That's what I like to hear.
Oh yeah. It's a good day. It's a good day, man. Had a nice beach day yesterday over at Lake, so you know.
Yeah. You were big chilling.
Sunned up.
Not sunned up. Said you want to get a little tan. Get you a little tan.
Celebrate the boy. Celebrate Dante Nash. Shouts out.
Oh, for sure.
By the time this episode comes out, happy birthday already. Big 27.
6 or 7, man. Yeah.
I'll be 30, pushing 30.
Hey, chill. I'm closer than he is. So relax. Relax.
Oh.
But yeah, man. Are you ready to talk about some of these rookie man? Talk about Summer League?
League? I mean, Summer League, yes. These players, I feel like age is 30's hitting. I don't know who these young bucks are anymore. I'm seeing names I ain't ever seen in my life. Grady Dick. Scoot Henderson. I mean, I know Scoot's cold.
But yeah, man. Me and Miguel both we did a little bit of homework. We really wanted to be able to discuss some of these draft picks with you all and really have a good sense of somewhat what to expect or what to look out for with the rookies this upcoming NBA season. And I mean, we have to start with the most hyped player in probably 20 years for sure. Victor
Anthony Black.
Honestly, you look like him a little bit. Just a little bit. It might be
crazy. That's crazy that you say that because his image is up right now. That's disrespectful. That's crazy, everybody. That's crazy. He's literally up. I'm on the profile right now.
Hey man, your hair's been that long before. Your hair's been about that long before.
It's been a minute. I mean, that's not. Do all light skins look alike? Is that what it is?
Kind of, a little bit.
It's like a. I'm gonna save it for the end of the episode. Let's start with basketball first.
So Wemby, man. I mean, there's not really a lot to talk about with Wemby. Wemby's Wemby. I think the biggest. I mean, you can get as technical as you want in the conversation, but obviously he's a generational talent. I think the biggest thing for Wemby is, for me, I want to see how he looks over the course of an 82 game season. Like if you're going to be playing 30 to 35 minutes a game at minimum, you know what I'm saying? What does it look like over an 82 game series? What does it look like on backs to backs and things of that nature? When you're playing Lions, Giannis, AD, Embiid, like these are the guys you're playing against every single night. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm really trying not to set my expectations super high. I don't think I personally have them for Wemby because I don't have any stake like in the Spurs. And I also think the Spurs shouldn't have super high expectations as a team. Like obviously you're looking to turn around your franchise, but in terms of this season and the next couple, I wouldn't think that anything is more important than just developing Wemby, to be honest.
And him staying healthy. Like that's really the end goal is to see 82 games healthy with decent stats. Hopefully rookie of the year combo. That's really all you're looking for.
Yeah. I also have an interesting take on rookie of the year. Very, very early take, but we'll get to it. Yes, but we'll get to I don't think it's controversial. I just think it's a little early to say. It might be a reach now, but I'm saying it'll be something to keep an eye out for.
I think it's gonna be a good race. Like looking at like the top 3 picks where they went and how much time and like production they're going to have to put out. It's a 4-man race between like Vic, Scoot, Chet, and then I mean the Thompson twins too. Hell, I mean that there's a lot of teams where it's like they're not going to a place where it's like, oh, we need you to just fill a role on a high level team. They're going to bad teams that need scoring and all of that. So that's gonna be a good race, actually.
Yeah,
I have no clue who takes it. It depends on like who plays the most games. Who, you know.
Yeah, that's what's going to down to.
What are you gonna say? Scoot? Is that your?
So Yeah, we'll jump to Scoot and then come back to Brandon Miller. But
okay.
For Scoot, so the take is I think that statistically, Scoot will probably be the best rookie at the end of the season. Like statistically speaking, I think Scoot will be the most versatile or has the ability to.
The only thing that Vic and Chet will have in that discussion is like their rim protection, their blocks per game.
Yeah.
But Scoot has that possibility to put up a trip dub how the way he plays. He's going to have the ball in his hands the most. He's going to score a lot. He can pass the ball. He's a triple double threat. And I think to fast forward a little bit to Summer League, his first game that he played, he just looked, it sounds blasphemous, but body type wise, in terms of like being a man amongst boys, looked like a young Bron. But I think a more apt comparison is like John Wall, because there was a bigger guard that was stronger than other guys that could get to the rack and score at will. And he's developing a shot probably better than what John Wall did when he was at his Kentucky days. So, yeah. I mean, and we see Vic has the capability to put up like double-digit boards and score and also pass the ball pretty well. But yeah, Scoot looks tough. Like he looks like NBA ready. So, you know.
I think that's the difference. If we're comparing Scoot and Vic in that regard, I just think that Scoot will have a bit of an easier adjustment to the NBA game quicker. He'll have a quicker adjustment to the NBA game than Wemby will. And honestly, again, it's not a talent thing for Wemby. I think it's about feel and again that physicality once the schedule really gets going and you have back-to-backs or you have 4 games in 5 nights or 4 and 6 or whatever the case may be.
Personnel too. Just like who's gonna help him out? Because like Scoot's gonna have way more help than Wemby will. And it might be a lot easier to target Wemby down there. You only have like Keldon Johnson and
jumping back to the Hornets drafting at 2. So I remember I don't think it was necessarily controversial, but I know it was a big deal on whether the Hornets were going to take Scoot or Brandon Miller at 2. And obviously took Brandon Miller out of Alabama. And I watching more tape on him and watching more of his highlights, to me it makes sense why the Hornets went with him as their pick as opposed to Scoot, because alongside LaMelo and with Miles Bridges coming back, I think Brandon Miller's game makes perfect sense for whatever it is they're building over there. I don't know. I don't quite know exactly what it is. But with the style of play, at least that we've gotten used to with LaMelo and Miles, I think Miller fits perfectly with that scheme.
I see the vision. It just scares me drafting for fit because I feel like you always go best available. Like, and
especially that early,
kind of a logjam with Scoot and Lonzo. LaMelo. They would figure it out. They're 2 smart guards. LaMelo is so like he played with Chino Hills. He'll chuck it up halfway up court. Somebody's gonna throw a lob to the next man. You know, it's just like.
So here's my thing with the league. I don't disagree with taking best talent, right? Or best available talent, right?
Yeah.
But I do think the difference in the league is you're going to need touches to make an impact. And I think that it would be unfair to Scoot and LaMelo for them to be right now, for them to be paired. Because I think they both need to be ball dominant and get their reps in, you know, at these stages in their career. I think LaMelo, this is what, year 3, 4?
Yeah.
So with Scoot being in year 1, but Scoot, he's a guy that you're going to want to be a cornerstone of your franchise at some point. So he needs the keys. He doesn't need to he doesn't need to share the keys if he doesn't have to. So I'm not sure if that's what went into the Hornets thinking, but I think it makes sense to let Scoot go to Portland. Again, I don't know if Portland's plan was to anticipate Dame being gone all along or not, but with that essentially being Scoot's team now, that's good for him. Because even if Portland doesn't end up being, you know, long-term or what works for him, he has that experience of being a franchise's guy. And we can see what he can develop into in these first couple of years.
I think my one point of contention is that if you could do it with Terry Rozier and LaMelo, you could easily just ship Terry off for a player of Brandon Miller's caliber or like, you know, position that would put them in that spot to even have an even more dynamic core. Like you can, if there's a star in the league that's at a spot that they're not going to last, like maybe that's a flyer for if you could piece enough talent together. Maybe that's a cat, maybe that's a big that could solidify your team, or maybe that's a solid wing if PG's ever gone from the Clippers or whoever it may be. I feel like there were ways to get it done. I love Brandon Miller. Don't get me wrong. I think the talks of him being a bust and like that, what were they thinking, are pretty blasphemous. Like, I don't think that they're like it. Yes, Scoot is really good, but I think all three talent wise between Vic, Brandon Miller, and Scoot, they're all very talented. I can see, like, if anyone is going to scare you most out of all of them, it's Brandon Miller, if not Vic, for health concerns, like in terms of like star quality.
What I was going to bring up was I do think that I could understand the fear that looking at the draft, it's like you hope he's not a bust. you pray that he's not a bust. Looking at a lot of the players that you picked him over, and I don't think that's going to be the case either. I don't think he's a bust. I feel like in terms of my only counter to what you were saying in regards to what Charlotte could have done in like moving Rozier, I just think that Charlotte's not a destination for free agents right now. So if I'm Charlotte, I'm not necessarily banking on making room to bring somebody in, because I don't think I have a product that's going to lure a star or a superstar there to play with our young core currently. So my only other option is to kind of take fit and say, okay, let's build the best young core that we can and see what we can do in the next couple of years, essentially, while they still have, they just, of course, like extended LaMelo. They're getting Miles back, apparently. So what is this young core going to be? And can it be something in the East where the fight for the bottom 4 seeds now in terms of playoff picture is, like we mentioned last episode, relatively wide open once you get past about the 5 or 6 seed. Like there's so much that depends on who's healthy and who can string together, enough wins in the season and who can be playing the right basketball at the right time. So we'll see. Well, I mean, everything's an experiment at this point. I think the Hornets are in an interesting place. I think the Blazers, as we know, are an extremely interesting place. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I mean, moving to 4 and 5, the Thompson twins, of course, were drafted back to back. I like the fits for both of them. These are actually two very interesting situations in terms of how the teams already were based off of, well, I mean, I guess these draft picks were made before the offseason, but combining the two selections with what both teams ended up doing in the offseason with their skill set, I mean, they both go into rosters where they just kind of need a guy who can be on the floor and be effective on both ends of the floor. And both of them can do that. I mean, in Houston, we talked about it before, you have this weird concoction of players, but you're somewhat balanced at every position. And you're a bit balanced, maybe not the greatest, but you're balanced in terms of every attribute you kind of want on the court. And so with their skill set of being able to kind of do a little bit of everything and still being like very raw, especially with their body types being that 6'7", long, lanky, type of player, both great defender, explosive. So I think both fits for them are going to be really interesting. And I think that because both of those teams don't have extremely high expectations, but they also both have great coaches for these players in particular. So Monty in Detroit, Ime in Houston, I think they just have a great opportunity to develop. And I think once we figure out what direction Houston is going, we'll have an idea of what that may look like for, the next couple of years. But Detroit, with some of the young talent that they have, and with Monty, if they kind of figure out their identity and figure out, what they want to buy into as a team,
looks like, because that's a lot of people. That's a lot. That's the one thing, is that like they could shore it up at big if they needed anything. Because like right now, it's like they're going to be sellers at the deadline, because I think Houston, at least, they got to be sellers, because like that's a lot of guards in their backcourt between Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks making $90 million once again. Mr. Amen Thompson. There's more. Oh my God. KPJ.
Yeah.
Green.
Yeah. It's really heavy.
Green. Oh my God. Like it does. Yeah. Sorry. I'm having a conniption because like, unless who do you slide to a big there? Who is the most versatile? Is it Amen? Is it Dylan Brooks? Like who's gonna?
I mean,
3-4 for that.
It depends. What I will say is defensively, I mean, Amen helps a lot in regards to being able to guard 1 through 3, at least from a wing standpoint. But yeah. Anything more on the Thompson twins though?
No, I want to talk about my twin.
Let's talk about him.
Let me talk about my evil twin. They said his comparison on here from the big board by Kevin O'Connor. I'm going to cite my sources. It says shades of Lonzo Ball.
I see that. He's shown a little bit of a better like shooting stroke than Lonzo did coming out of college.
Probably a better shot mechanic.
Well, that's for certain. That's for sure. But no, great size. I think, but again, he runs into a situation of going to Orlando and they're guard heavy. So it's just I
also sellers gotta be.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, when you think about it, and we can touch on this a little bit later, but the league is moving in the direction of playing this kind of like 3-guard lineup, and it's not necessarily big guards, so especially when you talk about these young teams who are just really in a position kind of like to give guys a chance to just kind of go and see like how can you make yourself valuable on the court. I mean, Orlando again, like they kind of turned the corner a little bit last year, but especially with moving Bo, I mean, they're still figuring out identity. They're still figuring out who they are. So I think they're in a space where he just has to come in, and I don't think he's fighting for a position as much as he's fighting for minutes, but
fighting for a role, probably.
A role. Yeah. But really good guard, really good skill set. I think he'll get minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of what would that look like and what will his specialty kind of become.
Do you think they ship Suggs or Cole Anthony? It's got to be Cole, right?
Well, I think that also depends on what type of leap Fultz makes and who ultimately becomes that starting guard. Because I don't know if like Anthony Black jumps that high, into the depth chart like right away. So I think now it's between Cole and Fultz to see who kind of takes that starting mantle. But if one was going to go, it would probably be Suggs before Cole Anthony.
You think so?
I think so. If one is going to go.
That's the thing. It's just like that's what I think people thought that Charlotte was going to be doing by them taking Scoot, where it's just like Orlando has almost like one of those guards got to be somewhere better.
Yeah.
100%. Like Jalen Suggs deserves a year. Like, like those are guys that deserve like a year to have like the helm or whatever that looks like. Send him to San Antonio, like there's a lot of places that have like, a need. And like, they got Trey Jones out there in San Antonio, but like we can do more for our top 5 draft picks that have been taken in the last like 2-3 years. Those are guys that I forget about so quickly.
That's a great point.
So I don't know, but also just to devolve a little bit, I think this is my favorite era of teams having young players that actually have potential and having young cores that are like actually dynamic that can pop off. There's a lot now, like between Orlando, between OKC, Portland, the Rockets, Detroit. I mean, they still have Cade Cunningham sitting there waiting. Like
Indiana.
Indiana's a great. Yeah, I mean, like best pool now is like. I mean, we forget the Pelicans are pretty young still. Like Toronto's a little yucky, but I
don't know what to make of Toronto right now.
They're middling. They're middling young. They're like we have nowhere to go, but we're still building. They're like the Bucks 10 years ago. We just would fight for an 8 seed for no apparent reason, but there was actually like good talent.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
We should be worse. Why are we doing this to ourselves? That's what Nick Nurse is doing to them last year. Yeah.
No, agreed. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how those young cores look this coming season, especially. And yeah, I'm trying not to jump into too much stuff before we get through like a lot of the rookies, right. But yeah, with the way the league is, because we're at this place where we're starting to see that class of like, hoopers and players that we saw like get drafted, and we're seeing their careers come to an end. So we're starting to see I don't want to call it the passing of the mantle, but we're starting to see this change in who the top players in the game are now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those young cores look over the next couple years as other players start to cycle out and other cores start to break up, and things of that nature.
I'm afraid of change. I'm terrified.
Oh, it's gonna be so interesting to see.
The first NBA season without Bron, what do you think ratings are gonna be like?
We're still going to have stars, but it is going to be different. That's going to be, I don't even know how to put that into words, what that'll feel like and what that'll look like, but
we'll have a 1 hour crying live stream of with a pod. It'll be, that'll be a sad day. Let's not think about that. Let's talk about these players. Bilal Coulibaly.
Yeah.
Is that the next LeBron James?
You say he's the next LeBron James?
I said, is it? I wouldn't say I wouldn't make a statement that crazy. They said he's the next shades of OG Anunoby and Torrey Craig.
That's what they said? That's the scouting report? Or that's the comparison?
Yep, a fast rising prospect who was luring in teams with his defense and intriguing offensive flashes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from the highlights and some of the things that I read as well. Like a work in progress, but has a lot of upside. I think with Washington, it's really interesting because Washington they're not necessarily rebuilding, because one could argue that Poole and Kuzma are your centerpieces and they're relatively established young stars, lightly using that word, in the league. So, but because of that, and because of them being so ball heavy, I think he'll have room to kind of play on ball and get a feel for what role he could be, but also just develop his talent. Now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the player development looks in Washington exactly. I haven't seen, what they've necessarily done with their
Jordan Davis,
post when they had Wall and Beal together in those first few years. But I think it's a lot of open field for him. I think it's just a matter of what he can develop into, like how close to his ceiling can he get and how fast. But he got taken at 7, so there must be something that's there. Hopefully a bust.
Actually, though. And then Jarris Walker next. Jarras. I'm kidding. That was Jarris for sure. It's got to be Jarris.
Sure, it's not Jarras.
So what do they have for him? They have that he is. Oh, this is the shades of Carl Landry. Shouts out Wisconsin.
Right.
Also shades of Grandmama Larry Johnson.
Hey yo. But no, I think I get the Larry Johnson comparison a little bit more than I do Carl Landry. But with him being in Indiana, I think that's a great fit. He's more than likely coming off the bench, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, he has the skill set. To play along that young core.
He looks like a huge guard. Jesus.
But that's the thing, he's not really a guard. But if you put him, I'm imagining him with that lineup of like Halliburton, Brown, and Toppin. Yeah, I'm imagining him with that lineup and them just getting up and down the court. You know what I'm saying? So, but if he can also continue to develop the 3-point shot that I don't think he had as well in college, but he seems to be developing through summer league and into the NBA. But if he can develop that and be consistent, I think he'll be a really decent piece for them. And again, Indiana is starting to define themselves. So if he can solidify himself a role with that core, who knows? I think Indiana is definitely a team to be looking out for in the next 2 to 3. If Halliburton continues to ascend and they kind of get a theme about themselves as a team and can buy into something, it might be something to see in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, 6'7", 233. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, can get up to. Can get
No,
up.
yeah. Grandmama sounds like an apt comparison. All right, and then on to number 9, Taylor Hendricks from UCF.
Yeah. Did you get to check him out or look him up a little bit?
No, not
What you
really. No. Yeah, when I saw his picture, I was like, I really didn't see this man like this. But I mean, from the notes, shades of Clifford Robinson, which is crazy. Or Grant.
I didn't get Jeremy Grant from what I saw. Apparently his stock rose more as the draft approached. So I don't think he was originally slated to go this high. I guess a bit of an interesting pick for the draft, seeing as they have Kessler and Laurie, so their front court is pretty solidified. But maybe he'll be a backup. But he seems to have a really strong defensive presence with the offensive side being something that he needs to work on. But maybe that's something where he can play besides Laurie, or maybe that's just what you can bring him in for off the bench. But I think with the experiment that Utah has going on anyway, in regards to them figuring out, again, like in a crowded West, are they a top 10 team in the West to at least fight for a playing position? I mean, they were in the fight for 3/4 of the season last year. So if Laurie stays at the level that he was, if not ascends higher than last year, and they kind of figure out more of an identity, I think it'll be interesting to see what he could look like, and if he, is able to find himself some minutes in Utah.
Yeah, no, actually. And then, all right, the next player I'm really excited about was Cason Wallace. I know OKC fans are very excited for him, just because another guard that like can score for them, defend, like, and he prides himself on defense. I know he watches a lot of Jimmy Butler and like tries to model his game after him. Man, OKC is building some nuts. I don't want to see them in like 3 years. I feel like what the Kings were this year, this is like the bubbling up point for them, where it's just like if all of these guys that they have on their roster pan out to be half the player that they're supposed to be, jeez.
Okay,
like, 6'4" combo guard that can score, and then you have Lou Dort to lock stuff up, Shea getting any shot in mid-range, you have Chet flying around, like,
okay, damn. Yeah, OKC has gotten some steals, and I think this is great that they have. I think the best thing that could have happened for Shea was that year with Chris Paul, to be completely honest. Just because it especially right after that trade, it just gave him, I think he just really took from pace. I think that's the biggest thing with Shea, is like his pace is
phenomenal,
amazing. So at his size and with his skill set, like he's not only becoming one of the better shot makers in the league, but he hasn't really lost like the playmaking ability. But then you have playmakers all around him. You just have hoopers. I think that's what I love about OKC's young talent, is that they're all kind of like these positionless, just hoopers that are playing with nothing to lose. So as they start to build more camaraderie and just start to build that chemistry and get more confident and develop. And I mean, they're still loaded as far as assets and stuff. So there's just no telling, like you said, what this team might be in 2 to 3 years.
I hope it pans out, bro, because it looks so fun. It looks like such a fun team.
Very fun.
And all of them are really, really good at what they do. Like both J-Dubs too.
Yeah.
Play damn near center for them.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. All right, so that's like the first 10 picks, but then outside of that, you have like a couple of names that are talented. Like how Cam Whitmore went to 20. That's a slide. And also Houston, Cam Whitmore, another guard. All forward. But what do you do? Like,
I think Grady Dick going to Toronto is interesting. I mean, I think I don't know what the fit is going to be, because I don't know what Toronto is going to be.
And also Jet Howard going to Orlando, another guard.
I mean, really, really guard heavy draft. So Yeah, a lot of teams. I mean, you mentioned this last episode though. There's a lot of teams where with all these guard heavy like rosters currently, when they have to shred, there's going to be a lot of guards available. But I don't know. There's just an excess of guards in the league and coming into the league anyway. So if you're not immediately setting yourself apart, then it's going to be really tough to find a roster spot.
Yeah.
But I do really like Jordan Hawkins at 14.
I was just about to say the exact words that you just said. I just hit my mic. You're about to hear a little bump on that. But yes, like the only person that messed up my parlays during March Madness, nobody, it was all unders for threes because them boys came out broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see this man makes his threes. So a shooter for them to just hit pin downs. And he reminded me of who did he look like? I mean, I can't say that. Who did he look more like? Because anybody can look like Ray Allen coming off a pin down, but he just shot. He has a really high elevation and shoots it confidently. Which, you know?
I mean, the Pelicans have what pisses me off about the Pelicans is they have all the pieces you could ask for.
They just don't all play together.
Because, I mean,
Mariah! Let the man play! Oh, man, Zion's going through hell and back. If this man Zion could play one season for me, I'd be happy. If he played one season ever. Greg Oden gave us one season of games, I think, total.
I think, yeah.
Like, when he came back for the Heat, that was another 10 games that added to it. Like, just, it's sad because, like, you don't want to see wasted potential. But it's like, Lonzo! Damn LeVar Ball for being such a good father, but also being raised in a capitalist society. So then he tried to sell some damn shoes that killed his son's knees. And now here we are. Great father, flawed. Shouts out to the first paused, I won't say defunct yet, paused podcast. Shouts out to Nate, the Ball Brothers podcast, also a basketball podcast. Trying to get sued. That was the whole goal. Didn't happen. I'm glad I could be here with you, Qualls. No sewage. Different word. Anyways, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Triple J. His stock went up. Like first games of summer league. Like he came out hooping. Like
very, very impressive showing against
Miami. It's always Miami. It's always Miami. It's always San Antonio and OKC because they have every half of a draft pick every season.
Right. No, but he's I mean, he's gonna have minutes. he's gonna have minutes in Miami. I can tell you that. But I think I mean, but of course, Miami is known for their player development. So I see him as long as he gets the reps, as long as he gets the opportunity, I see him developing and I see him being a big part probably of whatever it is that they do this season. I think he'll have a relatively large role in that coming off the bench for them. But still for them for sure.
Omax to Dallas. That's a great get. For Marquette?
Didn't see much about him.
Just okay, 6'8", rangy, long. I remember when I was watching Marquette, I was like, they look like the most. They equated to an NBA team the most I saw because it was just like a lot of rangy defenders that could score from 3 levels. And I was like, I remember he was one of them that I saw. I was like, he intrigued me. Marquette breeds like those Nova guys. Like they just play great defense. They play the right way. And as they start to develop, they start to find their niche. I'm trying to think like how I could describe him. Let me just read his like body. He's 6'8", 7'1" wingspan. He shot 33% from 3 last season, but that's to grow. If you're going to the NBA, that's just like, if you're 6'8", 7'1" wingspan, you're defending at a high level already. If you could shoot the 3 ball a little bit better in the league, I think that's a good piece for Dallas. They need more defenders on their squad. And I think that he's going to do that. So,
yeah. Feel that. I mean, Dallas is going to, a lot of teams are going to be really, really interesting to watch because it's going to be interesting to see how these teams look as the season starts, because there's a lot of new pieces in a lot of places. So it's a lot of teams that kind of have a relatively new slate going into this NBA season, with the landscape kind of really wide open for the first time in a really long time. We mentioned that last episode as well. A couple other players that stood out to me, Keontae George from Baylor that went to Utah. He actually, in the article that I read, which was from, just so they can also get their credit, the article was from SB Nation, and essentially he was the most impressive player, like in their list of like 11 players. He was the most impressive player in the summer league. I mean, he was averaging like 21 points through like 6 games in the summer league. And so what made it interesting to me was, with Utah's situation, it doesn't seem like they're necessarily settled on a starting point guard. Like, you know, especially with Conley gone now, I don't know if they're sold on Sexton. And if the talks are true that they may be looking to move Sexton, then if this guy comes, I mean, the only thing is, as a scorer, with Laurie already there, I don't know how much you need a scoring point guard. But I mean, if it's just talent, you know, maybe Utah goes with it and see what that looks like. But I'm assuming Clarkson more than likely moves into the starting lineup at this point. I don't think you start him as your point guard. That doesn't really make sense to me. But I think Keontae George has a chance to potentially be the starting guard for Utah. Who else? I really like the Hornets picking Nick Smith Jr.
Interesting.
But again, the Hornets are really guard heavy too. So I don't know how it works for him from a getting minutes standpoint, but I really like his game. I really like the way he looked with Brandon Miller in Summer League. Obviously, a lot of those reps will go to LaMelo, but I mean, if he's your backup point guard, I mean, if he can make room for that, or at least make room for some minutes with the second unit, really fun player to watch. He's a really fun player to watch. Why did you say it was interesting though?
I don't know. When I watch him, a few games that I watch in college ball, he's a good scorer. I just feel like, you know, Charlotte just needs more bigs. Like you said, guard heavy. You know, I don't think that moves the needle for them unless it's like a defensive guard that's gonna like strap down somewhere. You know, they don't need another scorer. That's what every young team has. They just need more stops. Yeah, so
I guess
speaking of stops, Andre Jackson Jr. Absolutely loved what I saw from him in Summer League in terms of like just what he brings. If we're talking about someone that's going to come in and be an X factor in terms of getting stops and putting in max effort on the defensive end, he's someone that does that. And I saw that we got him, and he got medical red shirted, or not red shirted, but red flagged by a lot of teams, which is why his draft stock dropped. But in terms of being out there and making an impact and having a nose for the ball, I think that he fits pretty well with our team. And if we're just going to mix and match having shooters or having defenders that are wings out there with Giannis and or Chris, I think that works perfect for us. I think the Charlotte pickup that I do like, though, at guard is Amari Bailey. I think that's like, you know, someone that could facilitate and have LaMelo work off ball a little bit more. Because Nick Smith is going to be the one that's going to be coming off pin downs and catching and shooting more so, you know, and they already have Rozier to do that.
Do you think Amari Bailey's impact in the NBA will be immediate?
No, it's going to be marginal. And then I think he's going to bounce around a little bit until he finds his right fit. I feel like it's going to be one of those careers where it's like some bumps and bruises, but it's going to make him better in the long run. Because like you said, guard heavy draft, there's a lot of good guards in there.
Absolutely.
Like Mojave King.
Where did he go? I only have like up to pick 30.
He got drafted by the Lakers, but he got shipped somewhere else. Coolest name in the draft for sure. I don't know. I have no other analysis on him. But reading the names next to Tumani Kamara, coolest name in the draft.
Brian.
Emoni Bates to Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yeah, oh my God, wait. He was at 49. Why didn't we Ah!
So I really think the rap that he got in college is what made him drop so much. Because from a talent standpoint, he's a lottery pick. So him dropping that low is actually really crazy. But Cleveland, if he can just produce for Cleveland, I think Cleveland is in a space where we all know how great Donovan Mitchell is, but I think we're looking for, does Evan Mobley, does he continue to take that leap? Do they again, does Cleveland find out who they are? Can Cleveland be a top 6 team in the East? I mean, you would think that they should be. They were last year, but can you count on them being a top 6 team and being competitive come playoff time if they fall in that 6? Because they're probably not going to be top 3, top 4, so you're going to be playing a higher seed. But can you compete with those teams when it comes down to it? I think that's what Cleveland has to figure out. But I think Emoni Bates can be a large part of what that looks like in answering that question for them.
I wanted to turn off the pod, man. I'm upset
that the Bucks didn't take him.
Yeah.
Last player that I wanted to touch on though, actually is from Missouri, from the University of Missouri, from Mizzou. So I've actually gotten a chance to see him play live a couple times. But Clippers drafted Kobe Brown with the last pick of the first round. Man, had a great senior year at Mizzou this past season. I think that really improved his draft stock. And with the Clippers, man, I mean, again, we know the idea of what they're supposed to look like with their 2 healthy superstars. And then you add Russ into there now. They've actually I think they've drafted pretty well the last couple of years. They just haven't had room for those players because they're guards that need to develop a little bit more before I feel like they can truly be effective. But I love that James Preston draft pick from last year. I love their BJ Boston draft pick. I think that was from 2 years ago or potentially last year as well. So I think those are 2 young guards that were really good players, getting recruited going into college and then had decent careers before getting drafted, obviously. So again, not sure what the Clippers are going to look like and what direction they're trying to move in exactly. But I think that Kobe Brown can find a spot there. I think that he can provide what a Marcus Morris. I think they had Marcus. Was Marcus there or was Markieff there? I think it was
Morris.
It was one of the Morrises, but he can provide that type of game to the Clippers. So I think that's a really good draft pick. But yeah, man, it's a lot of talent, and I'm not sure how a lot of these rookie contracts will look and how they'll all pan out. But there's a lot of talent in this draft. So it'll be really interesting to see where the dominoes all fall with them and how this year looks from a rookie standpoint. But yeah, man.
No, it's gonna be nice. And one thing about Kobe Brown too is that we share the same name. They call me that too.
All right. So I think that's a great indicator that we're going to wrap up this episode. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check out any of these players or see some of their highlights, definitely do so and be on the lookout for them as the season starts and keep up with where they are and all of that good stuff. But yeah, man, we're rolling. We got a lot of great content coming up before the season gets started, and hopefully we get some news on some of the free agents that we spoke about last week. But yeah, man. Any other parting words or any other takes on some of the draft picks or anything that you saw from Summer League before we dip?
Brandon Podziemski to Golden State.
What position?
Shooting guard, 6'6".
Okay.
Shades of Dante DiVincenzo.
Interesting.
And D'Angelo Russell blended.
Interesting.
Is he not from Wisconsin? Am I tripping? That
name doesn't sound familiar. I have to look him up. I'm not familiar with the name though.
Because I swore that they were talking about that name being from Wisconsin, but I could be just flat out wrong. Before the pod ends, let's see. Let me just see. I'm on my Ukraine keyboard. Don't add. Taught a student. He's Ukrainian. Transferred to Santa Clara. Where was he born though? Delafield, Wisconsin. Golden State drafting another Wisconsinite. It's another year. Who knew that Hooper's out in Delafield? Shouts out. So that's how we end the pod.
All right. We'll catch on the next episode of the Right Quality Podcast. Peace.